Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Mukesh English, and this is your favorite YouTuber Mukesh Soni. Friends, in this video we shall have the discussion of the 10 marks questions from the very famous novella Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Let me remind you, I have already done a video on the 2 marks and the 5 marks questions of this novella Of Mice and Men, as well as you can also find the video on the summary of this novella. So the links are available in the description box. And after so many requests, I thought to do the 10 marks questions from this novella Of Mice and Men. So now let's begin the discussion of the 10 marks questions of the novella Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. So very first so here this is a section 3 of this novella, where will discuss the 10 marks question, where you need to write in 2 or the 3 pages. Question number 1. Describe the setting of the novella Of Mice and Men, or describe the plot of the novella Of Mice and Men. You'll be surprised that why have I merged both the questions here, because both the questions have quite similar answer. So I have tried to give you one capsule answer, and this is the quite longest answer which will fit to any question you get in the examination. So let's see how. Of Mice and Men is a novella written by Nobel Prize winner author John Steinbeck. Published in 1937, it tells the tragic story of George Milton and Lenny Small, two displaced migrant ranch workers during the Great Depression in California. Based on Steinbeck's own experiences as a bindle stiff in the 1920s, the title is taken from Robert Burns' famous poem, To a Mouse. This novella takes place in the California Valley along the Salinas River. There are 2 settings for the action. Number 1, the banks of Salinas River and the nearby ranch. Ranch means a farmhouse where all the cattle are kept. George Milton, small and smart, and his friend Lenny Small, a large man with mild retardation, are on their way to job at a ranch. They stop by the Salinas River to take a break from their long walk. Lenny cannot remember where they are going, and George, annoyed, he reminds him about their jobs. Lenny looks in his pocket for his work card and finds a dead mouse, which he found by the side of the road. Lenny likes the pet, soft animals like mice and puppies, but he's very strong and often kills his delicate pets. Lenny tries to hide his mouse from George, who demands it from him and throws it across the river. Who asks him that he should throw it across the river. So he has kept it in his pocket. That evening, Lenny goes to Lenny goes to find his mouse, which makes George very angry. He argues with Lenny, but soon he feels bad and tries to console him. George tells Lenny how one day soon they will own a farm of their own. They will have their own farm where they will grow their own food and have rabbits, and Lenny can easily look after those rabbits because Lenny likes the soft pets. The next morning, Lenny and George arrive at the ranch. The boss is annoyed because they have arrived late. The boss' son, Curly, is a small man who hates big guys like Lenny. He and George have a small confrontation. Soon after, Curly leaves his wife enters. He leaves his wife enters. Her provocative dress and pose make George very anxious. He wants Lenny to keep away from both Curly and his wife. 2 more workers, Slim and Carlson, come into the bunkhouse. Slim's dog just had puppies, and Lenny is very anxious to have something soft to pet. Carlson suggests that Candy, an old man and fellow worker, Carlson suggests that Candy, an old man and the fellow worker, to kill his old smelly sheepdog and take one of Slim's puppy. Slim gives Lenny a puppy, and he spends much of the evening out in the barn petting it. George tells Slim what happened at their last job. They were run out of the town after Lenny unintentionally assaulted a woman. The woman went to the police and Lenny and George had to leave the town. That's the background. Candy comes in with his dog and Carlson starts pressuring him to let him kill it. The dog is old and arthritic, but Candy has had him for years. Since he is the only one who wants to keep the dog, Candy reluctantly gives in and lets Carlson shoot his old friend. George and Lenny start talking again about the farm they hope to get, and Candy overhears and asks if he could come too. He has some money saved up, so George decides he can come. Curly comes into the bunkhouse, and when he sees a smile on Lenny's face, he imagines that Lenny's laughing at him. He attacks Lenny, who doesn't want to fight. In defense, Lenny grabs Curly's hand and badly breaks it without knowing what he has done. That evening, everyone goes into the town except for Crooks, the crippled Negro stable Buck, and Candy, Lenny, and Curly's wife. Crooks lives alone in the barn because he's black. Lenny comes in looking for his puppy. He and Crooks start talking, and Crooks expresses his feelings of loneliness. Lenny tells Crooks about the farm, but Crooks is doubtful. After listening to Candy for a few minutes, Crooks changes his mind and asks if there might be a place for him on the farm. Curly's wife comes into the barn, making all the men uncomfortable. Candy tells her to leave. She gets mad and criticizes them and their dream, making Crooks angry. She harshly reminds him he's just a worker and a black worker at that. Crooks silently hangs his head. There is a sound of the man returning, so Curly's wife leaves. As Candy's leaving, Crooks tells him he would not be interested in coming with them after all. The next afternoon, Lenny is in the barn alone with his puppy. He accidentally killed it with his strong hands. Curly's wife comes in. She sits down next to Lenny. She tells him how she could have been in the movies, but Lenny continues rambling about the rabbits on the farm. When she finds out how much Lenny likes soft things, she offers to let him touch her hair. Lenny strokes too hard and she gets frightened. He tries to quiet her and accidentally breaks her neck. Lenny runs and hides by the banks of the river. Candy finds Curly's wife and goes to tell George. The other men come in and see what had happened. They get the guns. They want to fight Lenny and kill him. Lenny is sitting by the banks of the river. George shows up. He assures Lenny he is not mad at him. Lenny wants to hear about that piece of land they are going to get and the rabbits for him to tend. George tells him, and when the men are nearly there, George shoots Lenny in the head. The men appear, and Curly and Carlson congratulate George. Slim understands George did not want to shoot Lenny, and he leads him away, offering him comfort and a drink. And this is how the novella of Mice and Men ends here. So that's the setting as well as the plot of the summary or the plot of the novella. Now, the second question, what are the main themes of the novella? Discuss briefly. There are different themes running through of Mice and Men, all linked primarily to George and Lenny as the central characters of the play. Their plan to own their own farm highlights a theme of dreams, which also involves Candy and Crooks, as well as Curly's wife. George and Lenny's unusual friendship introduces the idea of companionship while also contrasting with the loneliness experienced by the characters such as Curly's wife, Crooks, and Candy. So, there are three main themes of mice and men are found or can be traced. Number one, dreams, loneliness, and companionship. Theme of dreams. The theme of dreams is introduced at the start of the book or the novella through George's description to Lenny of the farm that they hope one day to own together. They continue to discuss to discuss this throughout the whole novella, with Candy also becoming involved and making it finally seem possible. This dream is very important to the men because it represents freedom and having control over their own lives, which they do not have while moving around looking for work. Dreams in Of Mice and Men are also linked to the American dream. This is the idea that in America, it's possible for anyone to achieve success and improve their lives through hard work. This is linked to the US Declaration of Independence, which mentions that all men are created equal. For the men on the ranch in Of Mice and Men, having dreams gives them some hope that their hard work will be rewarded. Next, the theme of loneliness. The name of the town close to the ranch where the novel is set is Soledad, which translates from Spanish to solitude. So, loneliness is immediately established as an important theme in Of Mice and Men. Most of the characters are on the ranch are lonely. George and Lenny stand out because their friendship means that they are not isolated, and this is very unusual, making some others, like the boss, suspicious of them. Steinbeck shows how the lifestyle that the men lead in a way is very damaging to the relationships, making them lack of compassion for others. The loneliest character in the novella are Candy, Crooks, and Cully's wife. All these characters are different to others on the ranch. Candy is older than others. Candy is the only black man, and Curly's wife is the only woman. These factors make the characters isolated, and the men on the ranch show no empathy towards them, instead, making them more isolated by treating them very badly. Theme of companionship. Companionship in Of Mice and Men is primarily demonstrated through the friendship of George and Lenny, as there are no other meaningful relationships between people in the novella. The, the usualness of the bond is emphasized throughout the novella, particularly through the contrast with the other characters who are isolated and lonely. Apart from Slim, the men on the ranch find it difficult to understand why George and Lenny stick together. Many of the other characters are searching for companionship, but they are unable to find it. By the end of the novella, of all the characters are lonely in some way. Even George, who has now lost his friendship with Lenny because Lenny is dead, George and Lenny's friendship was the only friendship evident in the text. So these are the three important themes of the novella Of Mice and Men. Question number four. Why does Lenny have a dead mouse in his pocket? Why does Lenny have a dead mouse in his pocket? As the story begins, Lenny has a dead mouse in his pocket because he likes to pet soft things but doesn't know his own strength and accidentally killed the mouse when he pet it too hard. When George realizes that Lenny has a dead mouse in his pocket, he asks him what he would want of a dead mouse anyways. Lenny explains that he could pat it with his thumb while they walked along. Even after George throws the mouse into the woods, Lenny finds it, tries to hide it once again, saying, I wasn't doing nothing bad with it, George, just stroking it. The dead mouse introduces Lenny's clear obsession with the soft things and unintentional destruction of them, foreshadowing future events in the story. Fifth question, the title of Mice and Men is an allusion to, I'm sorry, I'm yawning. The title of it's about 11:55 p.m. The title of Mice and Men is an allusion to Robert Burns' poem. How is this allusion meaningful in the novel? So it's midnight, friends. The title of Mice and Men is an allusion to Robert Burns' poem To a Mouse, reflecting the theme of shattered dreams and unpredictability of life in the context of the novella. Both works share a sympathetic portrayal of the characters who face adversity, highlighting the fragility of human dreams against an indifferent universe. The title of Mice and Men is indeed an allusion to Robert Burns' poem To a Mouse, which speaks to the unforeseen consequences of our actions and shattering of the plans. In the context of John Steinbeck's novel, the allusion is meaningful because it reflects the central theme of shattered dreams and the unpredictability of life. The characters George and Lenny have modest dreams of owning a piece of land and living off it. But despite the best laid plans, they face unforeseen tragedies, mirroring the poem's theme, where a farmer accidentally destroys a mouse home while plowing. The allusion is significant as it lays the foundation for one of the novel's main points, that is, the fragility of human dreams in the face of an indifferent universe. But Burns' poem and Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men portray the natural world as a place of both beauty and harshness. They also share a sympathy towards their characters, be it the mouse whose home is destroyed or Lenny whose mental disability makes him vulnerable. This sympathetic portrayal makes to reflect on the themes of vulnerability, the struggle against unforeseen challenges, and the cruelty of fate. Now we have sixth question. How is Lenny different from other men? Or we can say draft a character sketch of Lenny Small. That's a full name. Lenny is George's friends and the two travel and both of them they travel together. Lenny has a mental disability, making him dependent upon George to manage day-to-day life in the difficult environment in which they live and work. Lenny is physically very strong, but cannot control himself, leading to escalating acts of accidental violence through the book. He's obsessed with stroking soft things such as animal fur. This starts with mice, which he kills, then leads to his puppy, which he also kills before the tragic death of Curly's wife when he strokes her hair. He does not mean to cause harm, but it is not he is not aware of his own physical power. Lenny is very innocent and sweet nurtured. He always means well and is focused on simple pleasures, which his dream with George reminds the reader of. He lacks awareness of social conventions, so does not feel the same racism and prejudice against women that many of the other male characters feel. Lenny is happy to talk to Crooks and Curly's wife, despite them being rejected by the other characters on the ranch. Lenny only gets angry or aggressive when he feels that his friendship with George is threatened. For example, when Crooks suggests that George might abandon Lenny, Lenny reacts angrily, worried that Crooks is threatening violence against his friend. Seventh question, why is not Curly's wife named ever revealed. Why her name is not revealed in the whole story? Cully's wife's name is never revealed as a way of showing her lack of independence and identity, while also displaying the role of women as as a ranch in the 1930s. In other words, she is Curly's possession, confined to a dependent role as wife. Cully's wife's unhappiness and regret are directly connected to this lack of autonomy. She confides to Lenny. Just a minute. She confides to Lenny. She says, "I'm not used to live like this. I could I could have made something of myself. Maybe I will yet. I don't like Curly. He's not a nice fellow. Could have been in the movies and had nice clothes." Clearly, Curly's wife's discontent is directly linked to the fact that she has lost her identity by marrying Curly. Curly's wife, never named in the novella, which reflects how she is not valued as a person. Her character demonstrates a negative attitude towards women that may have been held by men, such as the ranch workers at the time. She's only thought of she's only thought of in relation to her husband, and is never seen by the other character as a worthwhile individual. Due to this isolation and misogyny, Cully's wife is very lonely. She seeks out men to speak to so that she can engage in conversation with somebody. Cully's wife admits that she does not like her husband and thinks that he is an unpleasant man. Cully's wife is also disappointed because of her failed dream to become a movie star. Last question. What dreams are George and Lenny working toward? Why do you think it's important for them? The importance of dream. Lenny and George are best friends, and George travels with Lenny and takes care of him because he is mentally handicapped. George and Lenny's dreams for the future is to one day to own a farm and lots of rabbits. Lenny dreams of taking care of the rabbits and other animals. George hopes this dream comes true so that he can lead a better life. George and Lenny dream of owning their own farm. The dream is introduced in chapter 1 while the two men are camped in clearing between the Gabilan Mountains and the Salinas River. It is apparently long-standing dream because George indicates that Lenny always seems to bring it up. For George, it is a goal which will allow him to have the freedom of making his own delicious and quit the constant traveling around from job to job, which is what he and Lenny have been doing ever since Lenny's aunt Clara died. George dreams of the day when he doesn't have to listen to a boss or worry about getting caned, means fired. He wants to see the profit of his own work and not be responsible to anyone else. George describes the dream form, but there is obviously frustration in George's words that the dream will never be realized. And he says, George said, well, we'll have a big vegetable patch and a rabbit hutch and chickens. And when it rains in the winter, we'll just say the hell with going. We'll just say the hell with going to work, and we'll build up a fire in the stove and sit around it and listen to the rain coming down on the roof. Nuts, told by George. For Lenny, the dream is linked to his obsession with petting soft things. He looks forward to going to the dream farm because George has promised him that he will get to take care of the rabbits. George hopes he can control Lenny's behavior by warning him that he won't get to tend the rabbits if he gets in trouble. The dream is like a paradise to the two men who are later joined by Candy and Crooks in the hope that one day they can all go off to the dream farm and live nice without worries in the presence of friends and people that care about each other. The dream farm is a stark contrast to the alienation and the loneliness which pervades life on the ranch where the men work. Unfortunately, of course, the dream is never realized as the plans of mice and men often go astray. So, friends, this is how I have tried to solve the questions, the 10 marks questions from the novella of Mice and Men by Steinbeck, and also watch my videos on the summary of Mice and Men, 2 marks and 5 marks questions. So, thank you so much for watching this video. I wish you good luck for the forthcoming examination.
Dear friends, thank you so much for watching this video. You can reach me at mukeshenglish@gmail.com. Please do subscribe the channel, click on the like button for more videos on literature, workbook, pronunciation, grammar, communication skills, presentation skills, interview skills. Stay in tune with Mukesh English. Thank you once again.